Zepeda versus Stevenson, a little bit of flow of the fight here. We're going to go ahead and start breaking it down and talk about the fight. There's like a lot, but not that lot to talk about because it's a really, really basic fight. And, a little bit of we fight how we train philosophy and theory. So, how did the fight go? Well, here's Zepeda jumping onto Stevenson's line. And I just want to point out when your opponent's on the outside here, and then all of a sudden they jump into range here, and then your opponent starts throwing punches at you. Usually you move if you have good defense. You do something, right? You have some kind of movement, whether it's a block or it's a pull or a slip. Usually you don't just stand there and let the guy punch you in the face. But that was actually Shakur Stevenson's defense in the whole fight, was to let his opponent kind of throw some punches at him, hit him, and then he would go after. Or he would go first and then let him go after, right? Being very effective in, some of those sequences. But slipping here, landing a low blow. I just wanted to point out that it was one of the better moves that he's working on the line here, controlling, right? Seeing the shot coming here, right? He does wind up landing a low blow. It's not that consequential. It was good work on the line before that. But cleanly getting hit around the guard there, cleanly getting hit. Again, not actually having good defense. Those are actually a lot of very, very cleanly landed blows. Here he is working on the outside, and here he is jumping into a little combination here. Okay, and then again, getting hit cleanly to the liver, cleanly on the inside here. Bodying up again. Where's his post-punch defense? Again, when you think about somebody like Floyd Mayweather, you think about, you want to call somebody a great fighter. You want to be like, oh, this, oh, that. Floyd Mayweather was doing the same stuff that Stevenson was doing in this fight, but he wouldn't get hit. Right? You guys, everyone on YouTube talks about how all plus minus greatest defensive fighter. Like, there's no defense in here because he has to sit in front of a guy. The guy's penduluming onto his line right here. He just jumped onto his line right here, right? Boom. He just lets him whack him. He let him do that. Why? Because he can't stop him from doing it. He has to do the thing where he jumps off the line with the pendulum steps because Shakur Stevenson doesn't have good defense. Here, this is like day one boxing stuff. You do this to the guy, he's never been in the ring before. Ooh, bat. Like, you see it coming a mile away. Now, Zepeda, not the hardest puncher. He's a volume puncher, right? And Shakur, just like I talked about, he's a strong guy. This is not going to be an easy fight, right? And just like I talked about on Patreon, if Shakur works hard, he shouldn't lose this fight, right? He should be able to beat this guy up and work hard and, have it not be easy. And, it's okay that you just have a fight in your career that's not an easy fight, It's okay that some fights you have to work hard. Now, I want to point out this little clip here. He just hit him, and now Zepeda takes a step forward on the front foot, boom, and he whacks him to the body. But a lot of trading in this fight for somebody who has such good defense here, right? Clean shot there, and then counters, right? Again, so much at the fight, you want to say, like, oh, is it just he's in the pocket, or is it, but it was just bad circling, bad stepping around. Here he is getting hit clean, right? Right in the face, boom, boom, clean punches, right? Again, it's not good defense. He's terrible on the inside. He won this fight because he's bigger than his opponent. Right? He won this fight because he's bigger than him. He's, likely stronger, but that's how he wins all his fights. Little pull counter here. Finally escaping the corner here, right? Not allowing his opponent to just walk up on him. Now, this is exactly what Shakur would do all fight long here. When Zepeda takes that step back foot, he's going to take a step on the front foot here, gets into range, and Shakur Stevenson does. This is we fight how we train moment. Here we go. He gets on the line, bop, 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 right? Throws a combination here, and that's exactly how he trains. If we take a look at this clip, this training clip here completely encapsulates how Shakur Stevenson not only fights, but trains. And when he's not doing this, the only thing that he's ever doing is quote unquote running. Right? This little clip encapsulates all of his punches. Right? Does he do pull counters? What moves does he do? Right? The whole fight is just him letting Zepeda walk onto the line as he takes small steps away, and then eventually, when he's ready, he'll explode, bop, 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 out of his guard, just like that. But there really wasn't any great boxing. Um, there wasn't any great strategy. Pull counter, pretty good. Misses follow up, and then gets hit clean. And then again, no post punch defense. Right? Again, one of those things. After Mayweather would land a shot, he'd have good darts. He'd have good rolls under the right hands. And he could escape off the line. He understood that punches were coming back after he hit him. And again, Shakur Stevenson. Do you want to say that this is good defense? How much do you want to praise this? I know everyone's all excited. Oh, he finally had a tough fight. Here he is. Again, Zepeda figured out, when I get on the line with him, he does that thing. And now here Zepeda is, with no defense, no head movement, nothing, feinting, getting on the line here, and then getting away from the combination. Because again, Shakur Stevenson's not a good fighter. If you wake up every day and you go to the gym and you train to be Shakur Stevenson, you're outdated. Okay? The guys coming up behind him are better. Okay? I've taught the world too much about boxing for somebody like Shakur Stevenson to ever have success again. Okay? It's just not going to happen. And there's going to be a little bit of trickle where he gets to beat up all the old fighters from the old generation of people who didn't get to move their head, because he's good at beating up people who also don't know how to move their head because he's faster than them. But as soon as some guys can move their head, and punch, or he starts fighting guys, that are bigger than him, because again, what is he always going to be, that little kid? Whoops. That little kid in the ring, right? Does he always get to be the, what about when he's fighting the next generation? Does everything get to go his way? What are you doing here? Post punch defense here, right? Again, he landed a good shot here, right? How does he organize his fight plan? Again, he doesn't practice moving or stepping around or doing anything when he gets off of his punches, right? He doesn't practice moving around and stepping around. So here it is. Here he is not doing it. Here's his excellent defense, guys. This sequence started out so great for him, and then here he is just getting punched in the face after. Not bad. He gets a little rolled away from those things there. But again, starts off pretty good, right? But again, he can't do this stuff and still box, right? He can do a little bit of the striking, okay? But he can't do this stuff and box somebody. Getting put into the corner, Zepeda's about to take a step on that front foot, gets controlled, back foot, takes a step on the front foot. Is Shakur going to explode? Bah, bah. Oh, he only did one. Oh, gets whacked, almost gets dropped here. The reason that he's getting dropped here is because he's a bad striker. He makes it so obvious what he's doing with his feet, and attempts to use his 2-foot punching structure. Shakur Stevenson is one of those guys who uses most of his structure pretty well. If you want to learn more about 2-foot punching and my 2-foot punching theory, I'm the first person in history to figure out how punching power works and all the best ways to train it, including my 2-foot punching drills and my 2-foot punching theory. And you can find a little bit more about that, about these pendulums boxing stuff, in my program for learning how to weaponize the 1-inch punch. Not only am I going to teach you how to improve your best punch, how to throw your best punch, but also how to improve your best punch, make it better, with this 2-foot punching theory. Not only do I have all the punching power figured out and mapped out to help you improve it, but I also have a complete boxing system based around the mechanics of striking. Okay, the way that you can move and fluidly move in and out of your positions to line up your power and your positions and your sequences correctly, so that you can have the advantage on your opponent. But if you don't want to do that, I accidentally clicked on my Discord thing there. But I have a Discord as well, coaching. It's like $20 a month. And there's like a 6-month program and a 1-year program, or you can do month to month, or you can do private coaching for a year. But there's like 70 people in there. They post their training. They're getting better. They're learning the drills. You can get in there, watch a whole bunch of people train train and do the patterns, do the things that I'm trying to teach you guys that Shakur Stevenson does wrong, like learning how to fucking walk around. The guy can't even move around the ring well. Um, but if you want to learn that stuff, if you want to, when push comes to shove, if you want to see if I know what I'm talking about, um, let me be your coach. Figure it out, okay? Um, Getting on the line again. When someone throws a punch at you, you don't just sit there and eat punches to the liver, do you? Again, getting whacked cleanly there. And like one of the more interesting things about the fight is the comment section is that people said, well, now neither one of these two punches landed for Shakur, but people say, well, it's obvious that Shakur is the more talented person, right? He's the more talented fighter. He's the the more special athlete. So he's the one that gets to he's the one that deserves to get to move on, right? And that's what they think. A little bit of good pull counter there, or Philly shell. But he's landing a random shot, right? And now he's just sitting on the ropes here, eating a couple of body shots. Notice Shakur countered him with the Philly shell right there, and then Shakur continued to wait there and allow Zepeda to peck at him and poke at him. And Zepeda didn't want to throw the rear hand because he didn't want to get pull countered again. But he went in with the leaping hook right there, again catching him. And it with so many sequences like this, where Shakur, I don't want to say standing right in front of him, again gets whacked. So many of the sequences have so much of the time with him being, stuck on the ropes. Again, there's no reason for him to be here for this long. Again, getting clipped again. Again, he's a guy that's made his career fighting smaller guys than him. So he can just lean away from them. And guys that are actually less talented than him. His speed, right? And the fact that he's bigger, right? Think about that. Just don't be an idiot right now for 5 seconds. Get your head out of your own ass and say, okay, well, yeah, I guess if I fought a guy who was like me, exactly me, but he was like 2 inches taller than me and then like 5% faster than me, yeah, that would be hard. It would be hard to beat me up if I was bigger than, longer than me and faster than me. Like, just use some fucking common sense. Right? But like, that's his biggest thing, is that he's a little bit bigger than everybody and he's a little bit faster than everybody. Nobody's saying he's not fast, right? I'm just saying that he's a sucky fighter. He sucks. He's not a good fighter, right? He might be a good striker, right? But like, is this good defense? Did he see that punch coming? Now, I do want to say, this is what the fight looks like when you're not allowed to duck below the waist and you're not allowed to hold, right? And he still won. Like, I really want to point out that it wasn't necessary, right? He still doesn't know what the fuck he's supposed to be doing when he's not punching him in the face, right? There's all these other strategies, all these other things that go on. And again, bad inside fighting from Shakur. Is this guy going to beat Tank Davis, guys? Now, there were some people that said that they thought that this was a robbery. Shakur did kind of turn it on a little bit. In the 10th round, I think he started separating himself. Zepeda started getting a little bit slower. Zepeda was using a lot of energy. If you take a look at, and we haven't watched any of these fights yet on Patreon, but we're going to watch them. We're going to watch the Matias fight, the Berlanga fight, and the Shakur fight. I think I fell asleep. I watched all of the Puello Matias fight. I fell asleep during Zepeda and Stevenson, and then I missed Berlanga completely, so I'll be watching that for the first time. I saw some highlights, and it looked like Berlanga was whacking him. So maybe Shiraz has a chin there. But yeah, I'll have to see what happened in that fight, because I did think that Berlanga was going to whack him, But penduluming forward. Now again, look at him leashing. He's taking small steps back, and instead of leashing, he's going to get to the front foot, and then Shakur is going to what? what's he going to do, guys? He's going to do this, right? That's exactly what he's going to do, right? Not a bad strategy, but why does he stay there? Now go move. Now control some space. You threw some punches, you smacked them, now move. Go rest somewhere else, not on the ropes, giving your opponent free punches. And again, he just walks up onto his line, and again, that doesn't happen to guys who have good defense. Boom. Circling, changing directions, a little bit of good stuff there, right? And then pop, 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 pop. Okay, went with a combination. Now, I thought this clip was particularly interesting. Because, again, Shakur Stevenson, here he is going to be giving him a little bit of a leash here. Boom, hit him with the hook. Again, he starts with the right hook here. And then he looks to circle out, stepping around, change directions, and then he's going to open up again. Boom, with the same thing, but instead of circling and stepping around, he's going to change the pattern. Some good boxing, right? A little bit of movement there in between, and then boom, goes into his combination. And again, it's not always going to work out, right? Whew. Little bit of margins right there, and a little bit of head movement from Zepeda. Not getting hit super clean. But sometimes when if that's your whole strategy, right? Because again, Stevenson wasn't boxing Zepeda in this fight. Like almost nothing Zepeda did mattered, right? Nothing that Stevenson did was in relation to what Zepeda was doing. It was leash, 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 right? Move back, and then explode, right? Very, very, very generic strategy. Right? Very basic strategy. Okay? But it was easily disruptible. And if that's your whole strategy, it didn't wind up working for Zepeda here. Again, Shakur's really fast. But Zepeda trying to make an adjustment there and punch with him while he's doing his little trick. And then again, sits there. Is he just going to give away all these free punches? Now, Zepeda taking this right hand to the body quite often, not really getting any credit for it. Not that I think you should be giving a lot of credit for that punch in particular, but he really should have been whacking him harder or not using so much energy on such a worthless, if he's not going to really commit to it, worthless shot. But again, just the same drill. He just goes and explodes, does the same, and again, how difficult do you guys think it is? Oh, could I learn to throw a combination like that? Yeah, it's not hard, right? So be strong, be in shape, and then learn to throw a combination like this, and you can be just as good as Shakur Stevenson, which is, again, not that good, right? Again, he just did a really good thing with his combination right there, and then again, no post-punch defense. There he is just sitting on the line, giving those points away. And that's just not going to fly against Tank Davis. It doesn't fly against guys who are bigger than you as well, because anybody who's bigger than you can hit you when you're out of range. Right? Boom, 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 boom. Right? And that means that you're always going to be behind. So if you have a style of boxing that only works against people that are smaller than you, it sucks. But again, there's no boxing here. There's no strategy. There's no anything in particular. That he is kind of getting clipped over the top. Stevenson Zepeda needed many, many, many more of those kinds of sequences where he's hitting him on his way in. And not letting Shakur get control with these kind of shots. But again, the simple fact that almost nothing that Shakur did was in relation to Zepeda, again, that's a lot of landed punches, right? I can't remember who said it pre-fight, but they were saying that this was going to be Mayweather Castillo 1. And here's the thing. There are a lot of people who think Mayweather lost that fight. Did he do a better job or a worse job than Shakur? I do want to say he probably landed less combinations than Shakur. But on average, Mayweather's post-punch defense is way better. Mayweather is not on the line. I think he did sit on the ropes quite a bit in that one. But again, same combination, the same move over and over and over again. Again, nothing special about it. And then again, he just lets his opponent get those punches back, right? Stealing that shot. Again, he landed that shot like a million times to the body. Probably should have been throwing it as a hook or throwing it harder or learn how to throw a goddamn jab, Zepeda. You hit like a girl. Now, again, Shakur went from the outside here, okay? And he's going to try to body up with Zepeda, fight on the inside because if you can't hold, you can't grab, you can't duck below the waist and cheat, what are you going to do? You have to do something within the rules of boxing. But not finding any punches. Zepeda's trying to control him. And again, he's bigger than Zepeda. Look at him bullying him and then getting whacked. You know. Finding some shots finally himself. But again, not an inside fighter. You know, all that work, all that pushing, all that stuff that he's doing right there, just to go back into again that same combination. We fight how we train, right? Did a good job right there, and then he's going to sit on the line here. Again, bad inside fighting, bad post-punch defense. Not utilizing any of the space in the ring. And again, getting hit for no reason. Right? Again, it's not like he's eating these punches because he's cool. You know, he literally can't do anything within the rules of boxing to avoid them. Right? Now, I didn't think that Zepeda necessarily won the fight. I do think that Shakur started separating himself at around 10. He started boxing a little bit better as Zepeda was tiring. And Zepeda did do a lot of things in the fight that were like a waste of energy. But again, it's just the same move over and over and over again. Nothing special. A lot of bad boxing from Shakur, right? And then a lot of exploding into his little combination there. And I think we got like only a couple more clips. But on the inside, Zepeda was throwing just so many loose punches, you know, instead of well-timed or hard shots. And again, another random combination from Stevenson. That was like 3 in this sequence. And again, he's hitting a guy who has no head movement as well, no defense. Right? His defense is just throwing punches over and over and over again, right? But usually when you see this kind of stuff in the fight, usually this is happening to the guy who's getting beaten up. All right. So the performance from Shakur again, it was okay. He won the fight, right? Is that enough? Is that enough for everybody? Everyone still want to say that he's a great fighter, right? Like, he's an okay striker. But, like, how many of you guys with that level of talent you feel that you could have done the same thing? That was literally like 90%. He just takes small steps back, times him on the front foot, throws a 4 or 5 punch combination. And then he sits there, right? Overall, this performance, you can't rate it very good. It's not a good performance. Just because you enjoyed the fight and we got to see something new from Shakur Stevenson doesn't mean that it was a good performance and you should be saying he's a great fighter, because that was not the performance of a great fighter. That looked like, who's that guy? Ford? There was a fight where he fought Nick Ball, right? Who could just sit on the line with him and just dump those punches, and like there's no reason you feel like a guy that had such a significant height advantage should be losing to that guy. I think that I'm talking about the right guy. But like that shouldn't happen. And that's all this performance was, right? Is Shakur Stevenson beating Nick Ball? Right? If Shakur Stevenson had to go back in time and fight all those other guys without holding and ducking below the waist and and quote unquote running, if he fought De Los Santos like this, would he win? Would you guys pick him to beat De Los Santos like this? No. No, right? You'd say, nah, De Los Santos probably would whack him eventually. So what the fuck is Tank gonna do?